Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. Welcome back to our weekly live podcast called Heal the Unicorn that we live stream into our Facebook group called Heal the Unicorn Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women. So if you're not part of this fast growing community of like minded women who are on their journey to heal themselves and grow spiritually, then come and check out and see if this is the community and tribe you're looking for. And if not, no hard feelings. Keep looking for a place you can call home where you can feel safe to be you and to grow and all the messiness that comes with growth. So, as always, your loyal hosts, Anna Angelova.
Hey everyone, my computer is a little bit slow today, so it's a little bit harder to unmute. My name is Anna Angelova, and some of you already know me. And for the ones who don't, I'm an energy leadership coach and a co-founder of Empathic Unicorn Academy, where we help spiritual women create an abundant life in all areas of life.
Awesome. I love how different and unique your introductions are almost each and every time, whereas mine are the same ones for a past little while. So some of you already know who I am, while the rest of you will be or are getting more familiar with me, especially those of you who are new to our group, to our community, to the tribe. Hey, my name is Yana Kasperczak, and I'm your certified professional performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach. And it has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison you find yourself in and build a life, a business, and or a career that you are obsessed with. Obsession is my life. And I want your life to be obsession, but in the way that is ideal for you. Whatever that is, whatever that looks like, sounds like, tastes like, feels like, incorporate all of your senses. And to help you do that, today's topic that we have for you is we want to talk about achieving harmony in your health and have a holistic perspective, which means holistic. Some of you, most of you probably already know what holistic means. It's looking at your life, at you as a whole, and not as a symptom, not as this one little part of you that is you. The example that comes to mind is that if your finger hurts, what's below the surface that might be affecting this one finger? Because it's not just the finger, that's the tip of the iceberg. What's beneath that? What's below the surface that no one can see unless they have one of those scanners that you see in the movies that they're looking right through your body? Be like, oh, there you go. There's a red spot because it would be in the red color, right? Where you know, oh, that's the story. That's the thing that is holding me trapped, that is holding me hostage. And harmony is something, especially when it comes to our health. With the health, there's a few different levels of health. There's mental, there's emotional, there's spiritual health. Pretty sure there's more, but for now, those are the three that come to mind. So it's important to understand the different parts of health that makes us makes us and builds us and creates us, and identifying what part of this health that you're ready to work on, and remembering that you're not meant or supposed to be doing everything all at once. It's first, second, third, fourth, and so on and on and on. Having a plan of action, right? In order for you to achieve and reach and grow into that version of yourself that right now you're probably dreaming of and hoping for and praying for. And what you're getting in return is difficulties and struggles and maybe feeling the suffering because there is miscommunication that is happening between you and the universe, that when you ask for something, you and your expectation is that you're gonna wake up and tomorrow your health in this area of your life or this part of you is going to be fixed. Whereas the reality is when you ask, what you receive is not what you ask. Because when you ask for something, if you ask for patience, let's say one of the virtues that you want to acquire when it comes to your mental health is acquiring patience. And as a parent or a partner to someone, chances are you want more of that patience. So your expectation is that you're gonna wake up and the next time someone triggers you, you're gonna be patient. But the reality is if you're asking for something, what is going to happen is that you are going to be given an opportunity. You're going to be given a test, a lesson, or an exam to help you to earn patience. And once you earn it, you get to keep it. So you get to earn that patience through your kids are listening to you in the morning. They're not getting ready. They're not eating their food. They're not putting the toys away. Whatever it is that is triggering you about your kids, you're going to be triggered. So you're going to be getting the opportunities to earn your patience and peace within you through your triggers. So this is where I'll start. I know, Anna, you got lots more wisdom to add to this topic, to this conversation. So let us and me also hear and learn what is in your beautiful mind that you have gathered on this topic of achieving harmony in your health and having a holistic perspective.
Yeah, adding on top of what you were saying, so physical. I know you mentioned emotional, spiritual, mental.
Yeah,
Physical is the other one, and
the
the one
obvious
that
one I forgot.
I know, right? Oh my God. And the one that most of the time we deal with, right? And the thing with health is, like the fact is, most of us we don't notice our health and we don't appreciate it until something happens.
Mhm.
And I know quite a few of the women in the community, like I, there's something, right? Even in the imposter banishing quest, like we have women who are dealing with health issues, right? So it's something that very interestingly, as I said, we don't appreciate it. It's one of those things that um, we realize how valuable it is once it's not there, which is really a very interesting paradox. And I've mentioned that I've been reading the third book in the Secret series, the Miracle, and one of the things she actually points there is that appreciating and being grateful for our health is so important, and that's why we actually have this topic as a topic which is for the fourth week of the year. And I mentioned it that you notice this year, what you notice is how the topics we have, they actually move from the catabolic levels to anabolic, more and more anabolic, and this is done on purpose. And we, as we are rising with the energy levels, like having this holistic perspective and talking about harmony makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And when it comes to holistic perspective, absolutely, like these four things which you mentioned, that I can't think of a fifth one. So I know you like the number five, but I can't think of a fifth one. But when you think about our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health, like these are so interconnected that like sometimes it's hard to say, oh, this is the root cause.
Yeah.
And this is what makes this topic so interesting, because it's really hard to pinpoint, like all of these things matter so much. Yet, I do find that here is the thing, like we are spiritual beings living in a physical world.
Mhm.
That's why what we see, like we see those physical things, like when we eat things, like when I eat, I've mentioned it, when I eat things with sugar, I start getting zits and the things come out, right?
Yeah, me too.
So I do believe that ultimately our mindset, and this is one thing with the energy leadership index assessment, right? That they have found with the studies they've done, IPEC, the studies they've done, that the higher our anabolic, like the higher our energy, right? The more anabolic our energy is, the better our health is. And of course, everything else in life, but like even our health. And that's why I believe that ultimately, like when we talk about achieving harmony in your health, the first thing to take care of is your mindset. And ultimately, even when I mentioned reading the Master Key book as well, even in the secret books, like, what is everyone telling us? What do we know? That we create our world. We attract it, but we attract it based on our predominant mental state, based on our predominant energy. It's not enough for us to be grateful or joyful once a day or twice a day when we go through our morning or evening routines. It's the predominant mental state. It's how we feel most of the time, how we see the world most of the time that really creates our reality. And I know today we are talking specifically about health, but ultimately this is what really drives in health, like what really drives. And I do believe that stress is one of the biggest contributors to anything, like all the problems that we have. So for me personally, yes, physical activity, eating well, and some of these things, like actually, it's interesting. I don't know if you have noticed, when you are physically active, when you do things, like you don't even feel like eating garbage. Um, and these things all connect, these things all matter, but having that positive attitude, having that mindset of abundance, that life is abundant and that we are powerful, like you are powerful, you are a spiritual, like an awesome spiritual being, having that mindset and really like really believing this and really working on keeping this up. This is for me, this is at the core of keeping, like achieving harmony in our health. Like this is at the core, because as I said, like even in the book with the magic book, what she's saying is, that you've probably noticed people who exercise, eat well, take care of themselves, but then suddenly they fall ill. Suddenly it turns out they have cancer, right? And ultimately, one of the things she mentions there is that, and we've talked about intentions, right? If you eat well, exercise, and keep yourself physically healthy out of fear, you're actually operating at the catabolic levels, and this is what you're attracting to you, those things. And in the magic book, she, like the whole thing is about gratitude. So I know it's a little bit long as a starting point, and so I'll try to wrap it up a little bit. But what I'm saying ultimately is that for me, of the four ones that we mentioned, the mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical,
Mhm.
the one that's really can kind of control the others in a way, or it's like the magic,
Yeah.
that magic wand, and it's the mental part, the attitude, and from there we have the emotional, we would have the physical as well. And before I give you the stage again, I just want to mention one thing. Uh, we here are energy leadership coach, like spiritual guidance, and these things. So uh, I know we're talking about health. I know we're talking about harmony in our health, holistic perspective, and holistic perspective actually includes modern medicine. It includes reaching out to uh, your doctor and seeking professional help and things like this. So our advice is not medical advice. Like we are discussing this topic as coaches, like professional coaches, and from our own experience, and also from what we've seen with work with clients. It's not medical advice or anything like this. It's just a conversation on how the universe works, and like, as I said, what we've seen from our own experience, and again, based on my perspective and what I know, I'll definitely say mental. Like, if you choose one, if you choose one, the mental one, and what I mean by mental is also like the mindset, right? Working on the mindset, on creating a mindset full of abundance, full of gratitude. And that's why actually I think that this week is like level 4, right? And gratitude is level 4. And it's one of the things that is so easy for us to tap into, thinking about how much we have to be grateful for, how much there's at least something that each of us can be grateful for. And it doesn't have to be related to health, by the way. It can be in any area of our lives. Um, so I know you were taking notes, Yana, so I'm
Oh, yeah.
actually curious to hear what came up for you as I was rambling on.
No, it's I do my best to make sure no one notices that I take notes, but it's difficult because I believe notes are important not only because there's certain words or certain things that are said that I can reflect back because it triggered either a thought or idea or it's just important for me to remember so I can use that and reflect back on it. So, one of the things that you mentioned, you were talking about that everything is interconnected. And even though we're talking about health and the bodies of health that we have, I want to bring in one of the things that we take a really deep dive into in the imposter banishing quest, and that is the blocks, the energy levels as well. But the blocks, when it comes to the blocks, the four main blocks, one thing that when I started to dive deep into the blocks as a very powerful tool to help me heal one of the bodies of health, which is the mental, which is the mindset. One thing I noticed is that it's almost like the best way I would describe it is that as I would identify a block, I notice how I will write the same blocks with maybe just a different word or even the same way for another block. For another block, I notice how this one message, this one thought, this one story that I carry connects to all of the blocks. And then I recognize and I realize, well, shit, no wonder it feels almost impossible for me to heal this part of my mindset because it's the part of the mindset is the block and how it's connected to all of the blocks. And in order for me to heal it, I gotta go and heal it in this block and that block and this one and in this one. And it becomes this massive root that it comes back to this one thought, this one story that I'm carrying that is interconnected to everything. And I agree with you. When it comes to the health of our body and all these four forms, I'm sure I'll find a fifth one. The soul, the health of our soul is the one I'll add. Because I, when I think of the soul, I also understand when I was doing some educating myself when it comes to healing the soul, I learned that as we're going through different types of trauma when we're a child, parts of our soul leaves and it goes and it protects itself and it hides itself. And you can do soul retrievals, but be warned, don't retrieve all parts of your soul at once because that's all of the things that you have put away, that you have hidden, that you have protected yourself from, all of them coming out once. So when you're doing this kind of work, like I said, be warned. And I'm not a professional in this area, so I would recommend seeking a professional who can help you in retrieving these different parts of your soul. But I am a professional that will help you to retrieve different parts of the soul through the work that we do that is in our imposter banishing quest, where you're identifying the stories, the thoughts, the emotions, your blocks, your triggers, your energy levels, all of these different things. So, mindset, I would say it is in my knowledge and my experience and all the things that I have learned from and all the people I have learned from, one thing I noticed is how important the mindset is, and that the mindset will make the difference. If you are, let's say, on a weight reduction journey, if you do not have, right? I mean, who isn't? Put your thumbs down if you're not on a weight reduction journey, because I think, uh, especially in North America, we North Americans, Canadians, Americans, or even going down the what is it called, the continent, all of us are trying to get our health, our physical health, in a place where we look in the mirror and we love what we see. And beyond just what we physically see, we love how we feel, because that's the other part of the mindset. So if you don't have your mindset when it comes to your weight reduction journey, you are, number one, won't even start. You'll get excited and then it'll stop there. Number two, you'll start, but you won't finish. Number three, you'll start, you finish, you achieve it, and then say, check, I did it. I feel great. Now I can live as if you weren't living before, right? I've done all of those, by the way. The last one was the check mark, and this is where I'm like, oof, I realized what I did. I reached my goals, everything that came to the weight reduction. I felt great, and I'm like, oh, now I can live. And I realized, oh, like, oh shit, that's not really living. So now I can, now I'm going back to even the roots of that mindset of the check mark. That's not necessarily the achievement. That's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then the fifth one is where your mindset goes beyond the check mark and you become, it's not even the weight reduction journey, it's you become that lifestyle. This becomes you. If you're struggling with showing up for exercise, take a minute, 5 or 10, and write down your thoughts about exercise. What do you think about exercise? How do you feel about exercise? What excites you about exercise? Oh, what drains you about exercise? And you will notice your mindset and your stories, and then you will uncover exactly why you're not showing up for that exercise. So, do that exercise, pun intended. Meaning the exercise of you writing these things out and the brain dumping and getting everything out of your head. So, mindset is the key. And another story that I like to use as an example is that the example of siblings growing up in the same household, uh, where the household is not a healthy place to be, and they go through a lot of traumas, the same types of traumas. Many of those traumas they will never ever speak of. And one of them is living a life where they are unhappy, miserable, they're just sad and depressed and nothing is going their way. They hate their life. Even though there's parts of their life that they love, as life as a whole, no matter how amazing experiences that they go through, they just don't love it. Whilst the other sibling loves their life and is happy and joyful and appreciates everything that life offers. The difference is the mindset. The difference is the stories, the thoughts, the understandings of how they interpret the external world to help them understand the external world. And the mindset is in the mind, and yet it is not limited to our mind. Because often you might have noticed is that let's say you go to an event or to a store, or you go to a birthday party and you're walking in and you're just feeling off. And the reason why you're feeling off, if you go down the layers and you dig deep and understand, is perhaps because in the past you've been in a similar situation and you've experienced uncomfortable or undesirable things, and therefore now that you're in a similar space or place, your triggers are coming up, but they're not coming up in a conscious way. They're coming up in an emotional way where your body is physically speaking to you through your emotions, and you're not feeling, and you're not taking a moment to understand what's coming up. So that's where what I would add. And also, one of the things you were talking about is when we work on one health or one body of health, such as the mindset, all the other bodies of health will naturally improve, especially if you choose to work on the mind, on the mindset, on your emotional, on your emotions, and you start to understand yourself. You in return rewrite your code for the programming that you receive for all the other bodies of health. This is how I'll describe it. And and then all of a sudden you find yourself being health in all the bodies of health without trying to be. And the difference is massive between being and trying to be. Because in the trying, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering, potentially suffering, not necessarily. There's struggle, there's challenges, and then there is the yo-yoing of the good, the bad, and the ugly, whereas being is effortless. And this is where we all want to be, where when it comes to health, all bodies of health, we want each one of them to be effortless. And in order for that to happen, the root of them all goes back to the mindset. So that's what I would add for now. Anna, let us into your mind once more.
And oh, I'm unmuted. Perfect. Uh, yeah, it's actually a great way because what I was thinking just right now is speaking of mindset and kind of to wrap things up with the mindset, one important thing. I would highly encourage every one of you watching, listening, ladies, uh, write down what health means to you. Because ultimately, um, my definition of health uh, is different from Yana's definition of health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different from anyone's definition for health is. And write down what it means for you. Because again, the intention and how we approach it really matters. Like when we approach it from, oh, I have to, instead of I choose to, like the energy is different and the results will be different. And Yana, I love what you said, how when the intention is not there, when the mindset is not there, you start something and then you sometimes you don't even start it. And then if you start it, you sabotage yourself because you don't believe it, because you don't want it. So ultimately, highly recommend if you haven't done this before, write it down. Like, what does health mean to you? What does holistic, like harmony in health mean to you? And in all these four aspects we have been talking about with the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and Yana, you mentioned the soul as well. So write down what it means to you. How do you see yourself being healthy and having this holistic perspective on what your health is? And in terms of even stress, right? And one of the things actually as well that I would highly recommend, like I read the book last year. I want to read it again actually. So uh, it's from Aggie Lau. It's called Biohacking Like a Woman, I think. And I might have mentioned it before as well. I love her book because of the perspective she has. And here is like the other thing that uh, although we are spiritual beings and everything comes from the spirit, right? We live in a physical world. And in the physical world, whether we eat a salad and then we have a burger, for example, or we just eat the burger and the fries, there's a difference. And I have also, I read the book, I got it from the library, The Glucose Revolution. Oh, I forgot the name of, she's known as the glucose goddess. Anyway, I forgot her name. So she talks specifically about glucose spikes and things like this that impact our health, right? So moving a little bit to the physical, right? We live in a physical world, whether we like it or not. It's a physical world, and these things impact us. So, as with anything else, awareness and knowledge can be, especially once you apply knowledge, can be really superpowers. And I highly recommend. So, Aggie's book, Biohack Like a Woman, because of the way she looks at, like, talks about again, holistic health. She mentioned the spiritual part as well, the stress, and being a woman with, like, my cycle started like 2 days ago. So the different phases we go through, and interestingly, she calls them, like, she actually correlates them to the seasons, having the summer, the fall, the winter, and how we have different needs. And yes, there are studies out there that are saying, oh, for women, it doesn't matter what time of your cycle is. If you exercise consistently, you get results, things like this. Whereas what Aguilar is mentioning is that based on what phase of the cycle is. And she actually says for after menopause that we can use the moon as a way to track, like mimic the cycles. That depending on what part of the cycle we are in, that our bodies have different needs. And like when our period starts, like it's the winter, and it's more about okay, relaxing and taking care. And sometimes I felt this, right? Like I just need to stop, to not exercise, to not push myself, to just be.
Hibernate.
And other times, the what you call the summer part is like where it's like, okay, let's go and pump iron and run a marathon. Well, not a marathon. I've never run a marathon. I want to run a 5K under 30 minutes one day, but we'll see. And this actually really nicely brings me to the other thing that I wanted to mention, listening to our bodies, like listening to the intuition and those feelings that we ultimately know. We ultimately know deep down within us, like we know who we are, how powerful we are, and we know what's going on. Like we know and we feel, and it's just that we've disconnected. And so, yes, the food we eat, the drinks we drink, like whether it's uh, alcoholic drinks or soda or like things like this, like all these things impact us. Like it's a physical world, our environment as well. uh, I know, Yana, I don't know if I heard about Dave Asprey from you or not first, and then I got interested in, like, he's the father of biohacking ultimately, and or whatever they call him. And he would talk about mold, how he had mold in his house they didn't know when he was growing up, and how it impacted his hormones and all these kind of things. So our physical health, again, this is the first thing we usually notice, and taking care and being in touch with ourselves, and making sure that we love ourselves. And it's not just saying, oh, I love myself in the mirror and affirming this. It's also by the actions we take, right? What kind of food do we feed our body? What kind of nutrition we give it, right? Like this is a sign of love towards yourself. And one thing, where did I see it? That it sounds like a joke, but someone was sharing it as a real story. uh, Whatever, like, I don't know, chips or something fell on the ground, and the kid wanted to give it to the dog, and the mom is like, oh, no, no, don't give it to the dog. It's not good for the dog. But then the next piece of
Yes.
chips goes into your mouth, or your kid's mouth, right? It's like we feed our animals better than we feed ourselves and our kids, which is like, so this story sounded like a joke, but it's reality.
It is.
And loving ourselves is not just affirmations and not just what we do with our meditation and things like this. It's also how we treat our bodies, how we take care of ourselves with the food we eat, with the exercise we do, with the environment we keep as well. And environment is how clean and I'm not saying too clean, because keeping things too clean is also an extreme. But also environment in terms of the people around us, the stress that the people around us cause. So I think, yeah, this is what I wanted to share in terms of like the physical one. And with when it comes to emotional, again, these things are all interconnected. But one of the things I love about it, the energy leadership in framework and the 7 levels of energy, is how much this actually helps with emotional intelligence as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like emotions are so valid, and they're so normal, and every single one of us can benefit from learning more about emotions and how to recognize them, how to understand what they are, release them, right? Because ultimately, sometimes we all need to cry, sometimes we all need to yell, and that's okay. Like emotions are part, like what's the thing that usually results in an unhealthy coping mechanism is not dealing with the emotions. It's hiding them. So like with emotional intelligence, highly recommend like diving deeper into this one as well, and thinking about like, okay, how do you actually deal with your emotions? Are you even dealing with them, or do you just ignore them? And this is one of the things they were saying. I was watching another interview where they were saying how women are more likely to suffer from certain mental conditions and autoimmune disease as well. Because women, we tend to hold our emotions, especially anger and frustration in this. And holding it actually eats us inside, right? So it's like when we think about, again, the holistic perspective, achieving harmony in our health, yes, mindset is the magic key, but then manifesting this into behaviors that support our physical health, right? The eating, the movement, or exercise, whatever, like whatever you prefer. The people that we interact with, our own emotions, how we express them and don't suppress them. And of course, spiritually as well. Like we are spiritual beings, right? And being able to see life and experience life through level 6, like the joy, like this is one of the things where I personally feel like when I'm at this level in flow, like I feel like everything is connected for me. Like everything is really in one place. Like I'm in the moment, and I love it, and I love it. And like I personally am on a journey. I'm on a journey to achieve my harmony in health. And right now, the past actually week or so, even more, I have not exercised or moved a lot at all. Last week, I was attending a training, and I chose to attend the training at the time when I usually exercise. This week is really busy because I actually submitted my 2-week notice for the contract, and it turned into a 6-week notice. So the next 6 weeks, I will have quite a lot of things to do with wrapping things up with the contract and giving things to others to do. So ultimately, the past few days, I have chosen to put my exercise and some of these things on the back burner and not pay attention to them. And I don't beat myself up for this. So like I'm not like, oh, I should have exercised. yes, I would love to exercise, but at least I get up in the morning and do like 5 minutes of stretching or something like this. And I take advantage of taking one sock at a time out of the washer so I can walk a little bit more. So I'm trying to incorporate something, but it's my choice. And ultimately, this is what I'm choosing right now because some other aspects of my life are more important than the exercising. I still try to eat well, and I still monitor my weight and things like this. Some things that I do for my own health. But ultimately, I'm also on this journey, and I actually would love to share updates as we continue talking about some of these topics as the year moves on, because like this is one of my goals. I think I mentioned it in the earlier podcasts that the health part and getting in different shape is one of my goals for this year. And right now I'm not doing anything about it, but again, as I said, my choice. And the most important thing is that I'm not being harsh on myself. It's a choice that I made, a decision that I looked into my goals and what's going on, and I decided, you know what, this is it. This is what I'm focusing on right now. And yes, like 2 days from now, I'll probably be able to go. Like it would be Friday, and well, we do have the workshop on Friday actually. So who knows? Saturday I might be able to
Yeah.
go for a run or something like this. So, yeah, so um, it's not like I've stopped completely, but as I said, choosing like, and Yana, you mentioned it in the beginning as well, right? Choosing our path, choosing what to focus on, so we don't overwhelm ourselves.
Mhm.
Choosing what works for us, finding our success formula, our harmony formula for our health.
Yeah.
So yeah, wrapping it up.
Yeah. And that actually goes well, even like what we were just talking about this week, the wheel of life, right? When it comes to our life itself, we have all those different parts that make up our life, and we simply are not meant to focus on all of them. And this is where what you were talking about, it sounds like a conscious choice, where you sit down and you evaluate and reevaluate whether it's on weekly basis or monthly basis, or when there is a need for the reevaluation of the goals, of the plans, of what you're going to be doing and what is more of a priority right now. Doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever, but right now perhaps exercise is not a priority, not on the top, doesn't make the top five, but it's maybe the top six or the top 10, where when there is time, I will make sure that I utilize that time wisely and exercise. So a couple of things that you were talking about when it comes to the animals, I I love honesty. As I mentioned in one, I don't know if it was in the lesson. I think it was in the lesson for the imposter banishing quest. When it comes to, yes, it was. So talking about honesty, for me, honestly, it's not one of my top values, and I learned that because I am more than happy being lied to when it comes to my partner telling me I look amazing when I just look good enough, right? Yes, please lie to me. So if if I prefer honesty, then I would want him to be honest with me, right? And this is where also seeing that I don't always want to be honest because I was raised, my mold is whatever referred to as a good girl, where I don't like hurting other people or their feelings or their emotions or adding any new type of thoughts that are not going to be positive ones. And so I would much rather not say something and be not as truthful, especially when it comes to people who are really close to me, because I also know they'll figure it out on their own. They're more than capable. Whereas my husband, he loves honesty. So I, like I said, I'm gonna be honest for a moment. And even though it's not top of my values, for some of you, it might be top 10 of your values. So there has been quite a few times where similar example what you were talking about, the chips fall on the floor, and I would say no, don't give that to the dog because it's not good for the dogs. So if it's not good for the dogs, is it possible that it's not good for the child or for us? And for me, it was that realization as I just finished the sentence. Later on, I just didn't even finish the sentence because I already knew where this was going. And I just took the food away from my child because I realized, oh, if it's not good for the dog, it's probably not good for you either. Now, keeping in mind that there's certain things that are actually poisonous and toxic to the dog, which means that there are certain things that are poisonous and toxic to us, and we consume them in small quantities that we don't recognize this. Now, that's a whole different topic and conversation, which we'll keep for a later time when it comes to our health and our nutrition, and maybe a separate one for dogs as well, because they have different needs than we do. And even though I'm not a dog expert, but I have been learning quite a bit lately, and lately is for a couple of years because I want my animals to live a long, healthy life. So I don't want to go to the vet. And one thing I've noticed is that if I have this desire for my pets to not bring them to the vet because they have some health concern or issues, then wouldn't it make because that means that in order for that to avoid that scenario of me bringing them to the vet, that means I gotta get my shit in order when it comes to their well-being to prevent and invest in their health while they're young so that we don't have to pay for it later. And then the same concept applies to us as human beings. If I don't want to go to the doctor, wouldn't it be intelligent of me to do everything I can so I don't end up in the doctor's office, and then especially later on to avoid being or becoming an unhealthy person that is living at a doctor's office or ends up in the hospital, that I would much rather make that investment now and not later. And when I realized that, what I realized, the biggest part of that realization was, once again, the mindset is important. Because if I have a mindset of a cheat day is okay and it's good to have that cheat day, then who am I really cheating? Not cheating anyone out of anything except myself. And what am I cheating myself out of? Because then dissecting the language itself, I'm cheating myself out of that ideal version of myself that is discipline, that is health, that is abundance, that is wealth. How do I have that person? How do I become that person? Is I say no without even saying no because my mindset was reprogrammed in a way where that's not even a question. To have chips in the house, which we haven't had in our house since summertime. And it wasn't even our house, it was the cottage. And it wasn't even me who brought them there. It was my sister. So, and she knows. She's walking through the door. She goes, I'm sorry, Yana. With like these bags of mini chips. I'm like, it's okay. We can have cheat days. Right? So, the dog, the discipline. And then when you're talking about the autoimmune disease, my understanding of the autoimmune disease is the suppression of the immune system. And it makes sense when we look at the word suppression, especially with women, and especially with women being emotional beings. And every man will agree with me that we women are just ball of emotions, and oh my God, can you just stop your drama? We are emotional, very emotional, according to some people, whereas for us women, that's normal. We're used to it. We learned to live this way where if you were in my body for just one day, um, we'll leave it there. So it makes sense that when we suppress our emotional body, we suppress our immune body as well. And this, I sense, is how the connection between the language, the words, then manifestation of like magic spells, right? Words are magic spells. And that if we are suppressing our emotions, we're not dealing with them, we'll ignore them, we're avoiding them because for whatever reason, often it's because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or emotions, or you also you want to be accepted, you want to be loved by everyone, you want to be you don't want to you want to fit in, and you don't want to be a burden to anyone. And so you suppress your emotions, And when you do this enough, it becomes who you are, suppression of everything that you can. So then you suppress all the bodies of health, including your immune system. So it makes sense of what you said when it comes to women, statistically speaking, being more likely to have an autoimmune disease, which is suppression of the immune system. And I'm sure none of us want to add to that statistic. I'm sure all of us are rebels at heart, and we want to prove to everyone that they're wrong and we're right. And that's level two approach. But you know what? Every energy level has its advantages and disadvantages, and this is the advantage of level two. And I love this level when it works for me. When I use it and it's not using me, difference there as well. And then the last thing I want to say is one of the comments that I believe it was Bonnie, yeah, Bonnie mentioned, and you were talking about um, the pain in your neck. So you said, I just talk about this with another healer. Thank you. One of my concerns is that my physical health is actually blocking the chi flow, if you will. Neck issues, throat chakra issues. The mental is healing. I am doing multi levels of healing each issue through the layers of self. So the words that stood out to me the most was neck issues and the throat chakra, which are one and the same. And what I would like to say is something that you might already be aware of, but it becomes more of a reminder. And also for everyone else who's listening to this as well. Our body pains that we have are often connected and come from the traumas that we have suppressed, that we have not dealt with, that we have not healed. And eventually, it comes through us where the body now starts to scream at us through pain, telling us that there is work that needs to be done. It's like it's a focus area. So I'll use our dogs as an example. Those of you who have dogs, cats, a perfect example, any pet that you have. When your dog starts limping, what do? You bring that dog to the vet. Oh, first, before you bring it to the vet, you're probably going to see if there's anything wrong with the paw, with the leg. You're going to investigate and you're going to find the source of that pain. If you don't find it, the vet will. Now, you find the source of that pain. And they tell you, with a dog, it's a little simpler because they're not emotional beings like we are. They don't suppress their traumas. They get hurt physically, and that's it. And the vet tells you what's wrong, and it tells you the solution. You're gonna do it, right? No questions asked. Professional, they know what they're doing. It's black and white. There is broken toe. Let's fix it. This is the solution. Now, with you as an emotional, spiritual being, the answer is not so easy. You go to a doctor, their solution is going to be here's a pill, but it doesn't actually heal what's wrong. So what happens is when there is pain in the body, as I said, it comes from certain traumas. And I also understanding the chakras, which I'm sure, Bonnie, you understand what the chakra, throat chakra is. It's where your self-expression is, where your truth, where it's your vocal cords, it's you speaking, you saying the things you want to say, you speaking your truth, you being open and honest and authentic, not just for your sake, but the sake of everyone else as well, but really for your sake, because this is you, this is your life. So if you're not speaking up, if you're not saying the truth, and maybe even you tiptoeing around the truth, or whatever it is that is blocking your throat chakra, you got to identify what it is and do it. It's as simple as that, even though it's not so simple, right? So your body itself is telling you what's wrong, And more often than not, it will be an emotion that has been trapped in that area. So let's say you were a child, or when you were a child, one of the things that you might have experienced is adults around you not listening to you and what you have to say, and you didn't get to speak up, you didn't get to express yourself. You were a really good girl and you did as you were told, and then you were rewarded for it. Now that you're an adult, the program is still there. It's the same default program that you received before you were age of 7, and you are now living out this program. And when it comes to the throat chakra, like I said, more often than not, it is, yes, of course, go to a doctor and there might be something actually physically wrong that they can see on scans, they can see through their screens or whatever it is, that the x-rays that they do. But it might also be an emotional block that is rooted in your childhood, that is connected to your default program. So that's it. I got everything off my notes that I took. Any other closing thoughts, Anna, as we're a tiny bit past our time today?
Closing thoughts. Thanks for everyone watching live and watching the recording and listening to this. And I would say, as a closing thought, when you think about your health, when like everything about your health, everything we were talking about, when you visualize you being being healthy or in being health, um, send gratitude and visualize the ideal solution. Like
Mm-hmm.
visualize, don't think about the problem, focus on the solution. Like visualize the ideal state. Visualize, like you use that amazing power you already have to create harmony in your health by focusing on you being healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a perfect reminder to focus on the abundance and not the lack, to focus on the solution and not the problem. Because if you can identify the problem, which you already have clearly enough to know what the problem is, and you keep focusing on it, then what you're doing is that you're choosing not to change, you're choosing not to do anything. And in the end, you probably already know that you become the obstacle on your own path to the success that you have identified when it comes to this part of your life, that part of your life, or that part of your life. So that's it. I can't think of anything else to add aside from just decide to work on yourself and let today be the day that you choose you, and that you choose your health and all the bodies of health that makes you. And that means cutting away from all the other possibilities. And that's why, Anna, when you were talking about also visualizing the end result, that's you practicing for that end result. That's you practicing becoming. And when you practice that, it becomes so much easier to even get there and much more clear. You become, um, you also start to identify what you not only, honestly, what you choose to do next, because everything comes down to also a choice, whether it's a conscious choice or an unconscious choice. If you choose to be health, then chances are your intention might be to become healthy, but your actions might be going against your intention. Which means that if your intention is to become health and become physically active, if you choose to sit down and watch movies all evening and all day, then really check your intention, right? So that's all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all the live viewers, all of you watching the replay as well. I'd love
Speaking of
to,
choice,
yeah.
yeah. Speaking of choice, definitely, I'm curious to uh, see what everyone is getting like in the group, because in the group we can see the comments, right? Like what everyone, like what's the biggest insight from today and action items. And I would love for us to support each other on this journey because it's one of the most fulfilling ones ever. So I mentioned it before, keep me accountable for what I'm doing this year. And whoever wants accountability, raise your hand and we're here for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and the takeaways are very important from anything that you consume. Even if you're sitting down and you're watching a movie, what did you learn from that movie? What is your biggest takeaway from that movie? Right now, you watched a movie, a different form of a movie where we shared a bunch of different stories, thoughts, experiences, different things with you. Lots of different golden nuggets that you can take with you. But at the end of it all, what is your biggest takeaway from everything that you have just consumed and you fed your brain? And then action is important because that's what puts things in motion. Meaning, what are you going to do with what you've learned, with your biggest takeaway? What did you learn? What are you going to do with it? What action are you going to take today? Not tomorrow, not day after tomorrow, not next week, but today. And it doesn't have to be big, massive action. It can be a small one. If you identified physical health is really important to you and you write out the reasons why, then perhaps the action that you can take today is you can put a small little plan that is going to help you get there tomorrow. And that's it. It doesn't have to be anything massive or big. Or maybe just go for that little walk around the block. How long is it going to take you? An hour? No. I know the mind says it's going to be an hour, but reality, 5 minutes. It's like, oh, 5 minutes. That's not so bad. I can sacrifice 5 minutes because you must give up something in order to get something too. So, thank you, everybody. Looking forward to our next topic for next week, where we'll see you all here in Heal the Unicorn Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women group. And the topic will be Discovering Your Life's Mission, Leadership with Energy Level 5. That's going to be a pretty good one. And I know a lot of you will be like, this is where I want to be. And I will tell you all the good things about it and all the bad things about it because everything comes with advantages and disadvantages. So you get to choose how you approach life through level 5, through level 1, 2, or 3, or 4, whichever way you want to do it. It's entirely up to you. We'll see each other next week, or perhaps maybe we'll see you guys in the workshop this Friday. So if you haven't registered, this is your reminder to go and register so that way you can get access link to the workshop because it'll be on Zoom like Anna and I. And instead of just seeing the two of our faces, you'll be right here with us, workshopping away. And the workshop is breaking free from self-doubt. And I know this is something that majority of you in this community have shared with us that you are struggling with. So we'll see you there in the workshop on Friday. It'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And until the workshop or until next week, have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, everybody.